Hello everybody. So in this video, I'm going to be discussing how to create frequency tables in Rguroo, both standard frequency tables and grouped frequency tables. So let me go ahead and share my screen and we'll get started. So let's just first talk about the different types of frequency tables. So the standard frequency table, so that's just when we list out all the values all the different data values individually, um, and then we just count up how many of each there are. So that's going to be used for qualitative data, which is non-numerical data, or for discrete quantitative or numerical data that doesn't have a lot of different values. So there's, just for example, like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, just a couple different values you could just list out. And discrete quantitative data, remember, is data that cannot take on any possible value. It's restricted to like just whole numbers, for example. And then group frequency tables. So that's when we group the data into groups. So like 0 to 10, 10 to 20, etc. And this is used for continuous quantitative data because I could take on any possible value. So listing out each individual value would make a really long frequency table that wouldn't be very useful. And same for discrete quantitative data that has a lot of different values. So if you have a lot of different values in your data set, listing them all out individually is not going to be very helpful. So we're going to discuss how to do both of these in Rguroo. So let's start out with a couple standard frequency tables, both for qualitative data and for discrete quantitative data that doesn't have a lot of different values. So this is our first example here. So this is discrete quantitative data, it's numerical data that doesn't have or that can only take on whole numbers here because it's number of pets. And it also doesn't have a lot of different values. It just has 0 to 5. So we can just list all these values out individually. So let's go ahead and do this in Rguroo. All right, so let me go ahead. Oh, I don't have Rguroo up. Let me go ahead and pull this up here. So first of all, I'm going to download the data set off of um, Blackboard. So you can see I have sections 2.1.1 and 2.1.2 downloadable data sets. So this is the number of pets data set. So I'm going to go ahead and click on it to download it. And I'm also going to show you how you would do this on Newton. So I'll show you guys that at the end, how you would download the data set on Newton. But I'm going to go under data, data import, import data set. I'm going to choose my file. So it should be in your downloads folder. So number of pets. And then you have to be careful with this. So if there's a title or a header on the first line, you want to select header first line. The data sets I give you will always have that header on the first line, so you don't have to worry about changing it. But on the Newton homework, sometimes there might not be a title on the first line. If you run into that, then you will need to change this to no header if there is no title on the first line. But for all the ones I give you, there will be a header there. Hit upload. Then we can just close this out here. As you can see, it imported all of my data. Now, in order to do this on Rguroo, we do have to, even though this is a numerical variable, we have to categorize it as a categorical variable in order for it to do the table correctly. So I'm going to go under variable properties, select the variable. You can see right now it's numerical, that is the correct type of variable it is. But for the sake of this frequency table, we do need to change it to nominal. And then I'm just going to exit out of this and save it. Okay. And then I'm going to go under Analytics, Analysis, Tabulation, Categorical. I'm going to select my data set. And under Factor 1, I'm going to select my variable. And then so check counts and proportions so that you get both the frequencies and the relative frequencies. And also, so if I hit the eyeball now, I can see it doesn't put it from least to greatest here. So in order to change that, you would go under the level editor, select the factor, And then you just click on this level here, and it'll automatically put it from least to greatest, and then hit the eyeball again. And as you can see, it makes it's much better then. So I have the frequencies here and relative frequencies down here. And then if you did want to save it, you could put a title in here and then hit save as. All right, so let's now do some more standard frequency tables, this time with qualitative data. So let me go ahead and share my screen again. So this is going to be a pretty similar process. The only difference is we aren't going to have to change the variable type here because it's already qualitative data. So it's good, but it's going to be very similar. So this is car brand data. So we're going to make a frequency table for this. Since it's qualitative data, it's just going to be a standard frequency table with all of the different data values listed out. You can't even group qualitative data. It's not even possible. Qualitative data is always just a regular frequency table. So let me go ahead and screen share again. All right, and then before I even do anything here, I'm just going to go ahead and close this out. And then close this out, and then right click. If you want to delete a data set, you can right click and hit delete. All right. And then we're going to go back to Blackboard and download the car brands data set. Okay. And when you download the data set, you don't even need to open it. You just need to download it. Go back to data import, import data set, choose the file from my downloads folder. And then once again, for the data sets I give you, the header first line is always fine. Upload it. Close this out, and you can see we have all our data here. So now I'm going to go under Analysis, Tabulation, Categorical, the same place we went for the last one. Select my data set. Under Factor 1, select my variable. And then so I get frequencies and relative frequencies, check proportions, and then hit the eyeball. So I can see I have my frequencies here and relative frequencies down here. And it also puts, for qualitative data, puts it in alphabetical order, which is very useful. All right, let's do one more like this. So we're going to do one now with house color. So let me go ahead and stop my share here. Screen share. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and close this out. Right click and delete. All right, and then I'm going to download this data set off Blackboard. All right, data import, import data set. Choose my file here. And then header on the first line is fine for all the ones I give you. At least double check it for the Newton homework. Make sure that there's actually a title there on the first line. Hit upload. There's all of my data. Go to analysis, tabulation, categorical. Select my data set. Select my variable under factor 1. And then you want to check proportions so that we get the frequencies and relative frequencies. And then hit the eyeball. And you can see, once again, this is in alphabetical order, which is very nice. You have the frequencies and relative frequencies. All right, so that's how you do just a standard frequency table on Rguroo. But what about a grouped frequency table? So that's what we're going to get into now. So on the homework, you're going to be doing just standard frequency tables. If you see numerical data, it just wants you to do a standard frequency table for it. And you will see some qualitative ones also. But on the project, you will see grouped frequency tables. So we're going to discuss that. But that will not be on the homework. Okay, so here's our first example here. So notice this one here. So height is continuous quantitative data. It's numerical and it can take on any possible value, not just like whole numbers. So you can see here why we want to use a group frequency table for continuous quantitative data. We have a lot of different numbers here, listing them all out individually in the data value column of the frequency table. would not be very helpful. So we want to make groups instead and find out basically how many data values we have in each group. So that's going to be much more useful to us. So let me go ahead and now go to our Rguroo and I'll show you guys how to do that. So once again, I always like to clear out the stuff that I'm finished with here. And then I'm going to right click and delete. All right, so I want the height data set this time. I'm going to go under data import, import data set, choose my file from the downloads folder, which is height. And then header on the first line is fine for all the ones I give you. Hit upload. And there's all of my data. So then I'm going to go under analysis. So instead of going to categorical, I'm going to go to numerical. That's going to give me a grouped frequency table. Select my data set, select my variable. And then now, when we did the numerical frequency table for a number of pets, because it was a standard frequency table, you cannot do cumulative relative frequencies on here for that one. So we can only do cumulative relative frequencies for numerical data, but you could only do it on our Rguroo for you can only do it on our Rguroo for grouped frequency table. So even if you had numerical data in a standard frequency table, even though you can calculate the cumulative relative frequencies, it won't let you on here. But when you have a group frequency tables, you can get the cumulative relative frequencies on here. So I'm going to check counts, proportions, and cumulative so that I get all of the frequencies, relative frequencies, and cumulative relative frequencies. Hit the eyeball, and there we go. So let me explain what this means over here. So these are my groups. So this means the bracket on the 55 means the 55 is included in the range. And then the parenthesis on the 60 means 60 is not included in the range. So this means values from 55 to basically like 55.99. And this would be like 60 to 64.99, etc. The reason these right endpoints aren't included is because our classes can't overlap. So you don't want 60 to be in two different groups or classes. And then you can ignore this stuff here. We have the frequency, relative frequency, as both a decimal and a percentage, and then our cumulative relative frequency. And so we have all of that information there. And like I said, you can only get cumulative relative frequency on our Rguroo when you have a grouped frequency table. But that's usually not a problem. It's usually not that important. All right, let's do one more like this. Let's do this one here. So this is number of credits. So that is numerical data. It's discrete because number of credits can only be a whole number. However, we have a lot of different values here. So it wouldn't be very useful and it would look pretty crazy to list all of the values out individually. So we do want to use a group frequency table here again. So I'm going to go ahead and stop my share here and go to our Rguroo. Let me go ahead and close this out here. Right click and delete. Okay. So then I'm going to download the number of credits data set. I'm going to go to data import, import data set, choose the file from my downloads folder. And then the header on the first line is always fine for the ones I give you. Be careful on the homework, like I said. Upload. And then as we can see here, we have all of our data. So then I'm going to go to analysis, tabulation, numerical, select my data set, select my variable, and then check counts, proportions, and cumulative. So I get the frequencies, relative frequencies, and cumulative relative frequencies. Hit the eyeball. And so here's my classes. So this is like 0 to like 19.99, 20 to like 39.99, etc. My frequencies, relative frequencies as decimal and percent, and cumulative relative frequencies as a percent. And that is it. So that is frequency tables in our Rguroo. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Actually, forgot one thing before we go. Um, I forgot to show you the Newton side of this. So let me actually do that here. So let me go ahead and screen share again. So on Newton, so let me actually just like preview the homework here for section 2.1.1. So I can show you how you actually download a data set on Rguroo. I'm sorry, on Newton, just so you know how to do it in the homework. So let me switch this here to the actually Rguroo questions. All right, so like for this data set, so you can see here, it gets rid of this bar. So download CSV does the same thing that I just did. So if I hit download CSV, it's going to download it. And then you would follow the same process. I'll show you real quick like how you would just download that, but I'm not going to make the whole table here because it would just be one of the standard frequency tables that we did earlier in this video. Notice this does have a title up top, so that tells you that you would want the first line header to be there. You want to say that it's there when you download it. So let me show you guys real quick. So like data import, import data set. And then, so choose the file from my downloads folder. It did have a title, so I want to say that the header, the first line header is there. If it didn't, you would say no header. And then you would hit upload and then do the same process. So I just wanted to show you real quick how you also do that in New. And now that's all for frequency tables in Rguroo. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out.